Welcome back to the EdSurge Thought Leader Interview Series. We're live from the ASU+GSV Summit in Salt Lake City. And we are, this is nearing the end of our 3-day block of scheduling. It's been really exciting, and we've finally gotten to one of the people that helped bring us this conference, or one of the hosts. Arizona University is the ASU, part of ASU+GSV. And so I'm really pleased to say we have Phil Regier, University Dean for Educational Initiatives and CEO of EdPlus at Arizona State University, and we'll get into what that does in a minute. And thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you very much for having me. I'm sure that you guys are exhausted after 3 days of doing this. If you've been doing it nonstop in half-hour blocks, you're shot.
Yeah, we're trying to keep. We got coffee though. They have coffee in here, so we're okay.
Very good, very good.
Well, honestly, a quick note for the format for those just joining us who haven't seen the previous interviews. We're going to talk for 20 minutes or so, 20, 25 minutes, then we'll open it up to the crowd to ask questions. But I am really curious. ASU, obviously, people know, has tried a lot of unique approaches with online education, and you've been involved with a lot of those. I wanted to start talking about Global Freshman Academy, which, for those who don't know it, it's this low-cost way for students to complete online first year of coursework that ASU has put up online for free and you can do a low-cost way if you want credit for it to try to jumpstart your college career even without coming to a campus. But I'm curious, the first year of college, as we all remember back to when we did that, right? Especially for the traditional age 19-year-old, they come into college, and I assume this is kind of your target audience in some ways, or some of them, is you're doing it because you're trying to figure out what do you want to do when you grow up, and you take these courses in the general ed and you try it on, right? And I'm curious whether, I think with online learning, even though it's obviously come a long way, there's still that sense of this is a personal, emotional time and development. Are you worried at all that kind of formational stuff can't happen as easily online as it does in person, and that might shortchange some of the people doing Global Freshman Academy?
So, no, I'm not worried about that. So let me explain, though. It is the market here actually isn't kind of traditional 18 to 23.
Not just those people.
Right. I think I have a daughter. I sent her off to a traditional school. Most of the people at this conference probably are graduates of traditional schools. But the thing we have to remember is what we call a traditional school is not the norm in this country. The way people actually get through a university is not by going for 4 years and then at 23 you graduate with a degree. 50% of the people in this country who begin higher education don't complete within 6 years. Right. And they have nothing to show for it. They have no certification. They don't have an associate's degree. They don't have an undergraduate degree. They've got nothing. And so I think about a more typical 18-year-old experience is an 18-year-old who goes away to a university. Let's think about the way you go to a university now, right? You're a high school student. You're a senior. You take some ACT, SAT tests.
Yeah.
You apply to a university. You send your high school transcript in. You send your test scores in. And then the university makes a decision about whether to accept you or not. And then once you're accepted, you enroll. And at this point, you're taking classes and you write a big check, right? And then basically you spin the wheel, right? And you figure out through that process whether you're going to be successful in the university career. And for 50% of the people in the country, what they do is they spin that wheel. And guess what? They don't really know at the age of 18 or 19. Somehow they aren't fully formed yet and they make a lot of mistakes. And maybe they aren't in the right major.
They changed their major 3 times.
They changed their major 3 times.
And that happens at ASU a lot, I'm sure, to your students.
Well, we'll talk about e-advisor later.
Okay.
But exactly, the trick is to get into a major that you can be successful in as quickly as possible. We know that increases your chance of completion. But I think for a lot of students, what they do is they end up in 2 or 3 different majors. They switch around a bit. They go into debt. And then something happens to their father, or they lose a part-time job, or something happens, life happens. They have a child, right? And all of a sudden they drop out of school, and 6 years later they're 28 years old. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so at that point, what happens to them? For many of those people, most of those people, they can't go to a traditional brick and mortar university. It's out of the question, right?
Just the logistics
because at that point,
yeah.
They've got a job. They can't go to a calculus class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:30 in the morning. It won't happen. And so if there aren't viable online alternatives available for those people, they will not get a degree. And as a result, this country has a tremendous loss of human capital, because we know that a degree is kind of the key to being healthier, living longer, et cetera, right? And not to mention better employment opportunities and higher lifetime earnings, a greater contribution to the community, and a greater tax base for the communities that these people live in, right? And so let's go back to Global Freshman Academy now, right? So there are literally millions of people in this position in the country, 35 million people, right? And what they've done is they haven't been successful, or maybe they've never gone to a university and they don't know if they can be successful. So what does Global Freshman Academy allow them to do? First off, Global Freshman Academy allows them to explore for free. So maybe they think, I think I want to be a science major, so take solar systems astronomy. Maybe I want to be, I think I want to do something in anthropology, so take an anthropology course. Maybe they want to do health-related stuff, so take an exercise and wellness course. They can take those courses for free, okay? So they can explore for free. Furthermore, the courses are as rigorous and have the same learning outcomes as the courses we teach on campus. In fact, they're a little bit harder. And the reason they're harder and they're more rigorous is because they're visible to everybody in the world. And the last thing we wanted was to develop a course where somebody at another school would say, we never accept the credit in that course, right? So these courses are very difficult freshman level courses with the same learning outcomes and in fact the same numbers. So AST 111, that's Astronomy 111, that's the same course at ASU, okay? And so anyway, it allows a student to take the course and say, you know what, I think I can pass this course now. And so what happens at that point, if they think they can pass the course, the next time we teach it, they pay us $50 so we can verify their identity. They take the course. If they pass with an A, B, or C, they can purchase credit from us if they want. Now think about what that's done to the risk equation here for a student. It's changed it from, I will write you a big check and then you tell me if I've earned credit, to I'm going to write you a check when I want to purchase credit, when I know I'm successful. It's like, you know, we have one person who characterizes it as, it's the health club that you don't have to pay a membership fee until you lose 20 pounds, right? So it's a good deal. It allows students to explore it exactly the same way you're talking about. And by the way, I'm not talking about probably, you know, the sons and daughters of most of the people here. I'm talking about people who have failed to succeed already, and now they're at a different point in life. By the way, the other huge market for this, or relatively large market, are homeschool kids. So the third person to purchase credit in a Global Freshman Academy course was a 12-year-old in Florida, homeschooled, right? So the
freshman and doing college freshman work.
Doing college freshman work. The first person to purchase credit was a 41-year-old man in Portugal who'd never gone to a university before in his life. And so this is a way for people to get back into a university. And by the way, what we're doing is we're going to create basically a product around this that is an earned admission track, right? So I already told you I've already gone through the way you typically get into a university, which is you apply, you send all this stuff in, write a big check, see if you're successful. Well, what we'll do is, if you take a certain number of courses in Global Freshman Academy, depending on what you've already taken, right, you can earn admission into ASU. You perform at a certain proficiency level, you get A's and B's in a set of hard courses, hard freshman courses, we'll guarantee admission.
And you've done that. I mean, these health clubs you described that don't charge you until after you've already lost weight, those don't exist partly because they're probably not a good business model. Do you feel like there's enough people that'll come through to make this sustainable?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that the most important aspect of Global Freshman Academy isn't that product per se, but in fact, it's the fact that it provides a pathway into a university.
Well, I wanted to ask you about something kind of related, which is baristas taking your courses. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a lot of press about your deal, ASU's deal with Starbucks a couple years ago that's still ongoing. And for those those who don't know it, that's obviously there's arrangement where the company is helping, is kind of your preferred provider, as I understand it, and they're also helping those students to pay for that education.
Right.
So I guess in some ways I see that as, obviously it seems great for the people, the students participating through that, or the baristas, but is this going to be the future of colleges is this going to be the thing in the future where ASUs and other universities are going to be competing for exclusive deals with various big employers, and that's going to be higher ed's kind of game?
I don't think so. I think it's much more interesting from the standpoint of Starbucks than it is from ASU. You know, ASU did it to show that we could do it. Starbucks did it for a much more interesting reason, which is Starbucks wants to be an exemplar of what a 21st century company can be. And that means not just, and by the way, you know, very profitable, returned 18,000% since they went public in 1992. In 1987, when they were preparing to go public, years before they went public, Howard Schultz made the commitment to provide health care to part-time employees. That was the type of thing that I'm sure many investment bankers said, you're crazy, it's going to reduce your valuation, et cetera. But in fact, it's made them very successful. He is the type of person who believes that part of what he's doing is contributing back to the community, and contributing back to the community by assisting the people who are assisting him make a great business, okay? And so there's a great quote from Cicero that we use a lot at ASU and at Starbucks. Cicero said, I criticize like what I create, okay? And so the fact is, Howard Schultz and Starbucks had, at the time we started this program, 150,000 U.S. employees. 70,000 of those employees did not have university degrees. When they polled those employees about what they would want most of anything, the answer is, I'd want the chance to complete my higher education. Now, I already talked to you a little bit about the real way that people go through university in this country. The fact is, and I'm going to, you know, sorry to dump statistics here, but if you're from the top income quartile, there's an 80% chance you graduate from university in this country. 90% chance you go, 90% chance you complete. Yeah. If you're from the bottom 3 income quartiles, there's about a 28% chance. If you're from the bottom quartile, there's a 10% chance, regardless of ability, okay? Now, a whole bunch of those people in the bottom 3 income quartiles and some in the top income quartiles end up being baristas at Starbucks, okay? Now, how are they going to get through? How are they going to get a university education? There's already only a 1 in 3 chance, at most optimistically, that they're ever going to get a university education. Right. And so Howard, working with ASU, put together a plan that would allow these students to get a degree from ASU through our online modality with no out-of-pocket tuition costs, okay? In Howard's view, what he wanted to do was be an exemplar of what a 21st century company could be. Not only, you know, thinking about the profitability and the share price. And by the way, I always feel defensive about this, but I'm an accounting professor and I was executive dean of the School of Business for many years. I love profit, okay? But also there's a more holistic view of the company where you can also contribute back to the community, assist your partners, assist your employees, achieve their dreams in life, and get them over the mountain. Without something like this, so we've got 6,000 people in the College Achievement Plan now. 2 days ago, we graduated 330. We'll graduate over 1,000 by the end of the year. Starbucks' goal is 25,000 students graduate from this program by 2025. Now, in my view, out of that 25,000, that's about 22,000 more than would have a degree if this program didn't exist. Some of those people would have ended up getting a degree. The vast number would not have. So that's kind of a long explanation, but is it great for ASU? Yeah, because what it does for us is it brings us a set of students that reflect the demographics of this country in an important way. Actually, they're a little skewed female, 62% female, but roughly the same number of minority students, roughly the same number of low income, et cetera. So it reflects the diversity of this country. And they bring them to us rather than we having to go find them. So it's a really important proposition for us, but it also allows us to demonstrate what we can do at scale and with quality with a terrific corporate partner. So it's not going to be, and again, are we going to sit around and do 15 of these? No. The Starbucks was a unique thing. There will be other corporate partnerships. We are going to do a lot. But the point is, what we wanted to demonstrate is a university that wants to do something like this can do it.
So you do expect there might be other universities doing it with other big employers?
I expect other universities to do it.
But you're not going to elbow them out for that contract.
Well, it depends on who can do the job the best, I think. And by the way, Starbucks did a great deal of due diligence around this. They are a public company, so they can't just say, well, we like Mike Crow, so we're going to go do this deal. They talked to a lot of different universities and both for-profit and public providers, and they chose us, and we're very happy that they did.
So shifting gears slightly, although it's a related topic, is there's been a lot of talk right before this event of the Purdue Kaplan University deal, which is essentially Kaplan University, a for-profit institution, kind of being sold to Purdue for $1 or whatever. This kind of instant moment where it surprised a lot of people, and it seems like this might
surprise a lot of faculty.
Yeah, the faculty resolution against it at Purdue, but at the same time, it seems like suddenly it makes Purdue in a way a competitor of what you're doing at ASU in this online space. And I'm just curious what your reaction to that deal is.
Sure. So this is a question that I'll probably be answering for the next 6 months in one form or another. But I will tell you, I think it's a good deal for higher education, and I also think it's a good deal for ASU, and I'll explain why. This is not a zero-sum game. It's not like
this being the number of
students who are seeking higher education. It's not a zero-sum game. I think a problem that universities have made is that everybody's going after the same type of student. Everybody's going after
selective,
18,
SAT,
just 18-year-old high school students. They think that's the undergraduate student population. In fact, we know that's not the undergrad. That's not the totality of the undergraduate student population. And so, first off, I think that what this does is, far from being a zero-sum game, I think that what this does is make the pie bigger. It creates awareness in all of the people who are thinking about getting a degree that there are other ways, other modalities, other than going to a local community college or a local brick-and-mortar university in order to get a degree. Second thing I think it does for ASU is it validates our model. When you think about it, we are, along with Penn State, kind of out there without a lot of other large public universities saying, this is the right thing to do.
Penn State has its world campus they've had for a long time.
Penn State has a world campus they've had a long time. Colorado State has a global campus, and they've had that for a number of years as well. But there aren't a lot of large public universities saying that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our community. It's the right thing in order to increase adult degree completion, and we're going to do that. And so having another player with a very great brand like Purdue come into this market and say, in order to meet our public purpose as a public land-grant university, we need to do something like this. I think it really validates our model. And so that's another reason why I think it's a good thing, not just for higher education in general, but for ASU in particular.
I certainly have more that I could ask you, but we have a video question. So let's jump in and see what the folks out there. We're going to cue that up. Ray Garcelon is going to be up here on video for a second, asking a question of Phil.
Hi, Ray. I think I see you. There you are.
Can you hear me as well?
Oh, you're muted again. This is
So there's no audio. No audio? I cannot hear the audio on you just all cut off now. Well, I'll ask my question. Since you can hear me. My question was regarding partnerships like Starbucks or any future partnerships. Has there been any discussion or brainstorming about possible hybrid versions of what EdPlus does, meaning that there would be some portion that maybe you would partner and have either going to them with something face-to-face as a part of the online initiatives you've done.
Anybody hear me? I think that's a question. It looks like I'm still muted. There you go. I'm good? Okay. Can you hear me, Ray? Nod your head if you can.
He can.
Okay, you can. Good. Okay. Yes, and so I think that that's a great question. I think that, you know, whereas we're known for online and we have 25,000 online students, I've always felt that in the future, the dominant modality would be hybrid, because you want to take the technology tools you have and either flip the classroom or use them adaptively in other ways in order to make teaching more effective. But there is a component of face-to-face learning that I think is important and can't be fully captured online. So online is different, not necessarily worse, but it's different. And some of those things that you do in a face-to-face classroom, particularly with younger learners, meaning like 18 to 22-year-olds who may not have the maturity that online takes, you'd like to do in a face-to-face setting. And so we are working, we're working with a very large, now, the place that works, the reason it wouldn't work at Starbucks, for example, is they've got 7,000 stores. So they have a completely dispersed population. And trying to set up something hybrid there just would not work. However, if you have employers that have concentrations, large concentrations of employees in a particular place, it will work. And so we are working with an employer right now. We're at kind of the contract stage. We're working this pilot at 2 different places, learning centers, where there are about a total of about 15,000 students across these 2 work locations. And we're going to do both Global Freshman Academy classes and ASU online classes and have facilitators in those centers. The other place that I think hybrid works, or where I hope hybrid will work because we're going to test it out, is internationally. You know, the fact is, if you travel around the world, online, whatever degraded reputation online might have in the US pales to what it is globally. I mean, people think it's horrible. They think it's like, it reminds me of how it was viewed 15 years ago in the US. It's like, oh, correspondence courses on steroids, plus the quality of the programming is awful. And so I think that's a natural place as well to set up learning centers, potentially with companies that already have learning centers overseas, in order to be able to provide a hybrid modality for the courses you teach. So you would pipe in the content, you'd have facilitators there, you could do tutoring, you can do assessment, and you could also do kind of higher order thinking skills. So you can kind of move up Bloom's taxonomy a little easier in a face-to-face form.
And we have only just a couple minutes left, so we do have time for one more question. You can press the hand icon or type it in with the question mark icon at the bottom of your screen, bottom right, I believe. So, well, we do have one that's popped up. Do you think there will be fully online community colleges in the near future? What do you think, Phil?
There was a really good fully online community college that got put out of business by accreditation issues. And so do I think there will be fully online community colleges in the near future? Rio Salado in the Maricopa County system is a fully online community college, and you can get an associate's degree. And so, yeah, I think not only will there be some in the future, there are a couple at least that I know of now.
And so it's been slower. I was actually, Rufus Glasper from this League for Innovation was here. We talked a little bit about why that hasn't happened sooner. But community colleges serve a slightly different market, and they're trying to do slightly different things. They aren't all, trying to prepare students for 4-year degrees. And so I think the objective of community colleges often is kind of at odds with what you're trying to do with online education. So I think it's proceeded slower, but they exist. I think they'll continue to exist in the future, and I think they'll expand. You can't meet the demand
for post-secondary education in this country by building brick-and-mortar universities or brick-and-mortar community colleges. It will not happen. And so eventually, as the population continues to expand, and as, for whatever reason, and well-intentioned or not, legislatures are providing less and less money for education, the imperative to grow and develop online is apparent.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.